The biggest driver of my marketing was I had one webinar that I put out there that resonated with a lot of people. And that's where the majority of people found me in the beginning. That's where they would have found me. Great question. So we've shifted a little bit from the early days of just helping people get out of debt. We've helped a lot of people get out of debt. 8 figures of debt paid off. It's been amazing. The problem we ran into is after people got out of debt, they were like, what's next? And that's where we naturally started to shift over to investing. So let's just say you came in on the investing side, because that's where we spend a lot of our time now. We still have the debt stuff for people for sure, but a lot of them within a couple of years become debt free. And then we spend a lot of time, many years on the wealth building side. So what that looks like for a lot of people is pretty simple. We've got a coaching program where people come in, the classic coaching program, they learn as a group, right? They learn the concepts in a group, they ask questions in a group, they implement in the group. But then we have one-on-one where we help them get over the mindset problem, the self-sabotage, the scarcity. And that's where the one-on-one comes in for a lot of our clients here. So we'll teach them in a group setting, the overall concepts, how to implement all of that stuff with them.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Mike Crofts, a former award-winning touring musician who learned the hard way that the hustle mentality doesn't always lead to financial freedom. After the 2008 financial collapse, Mike found himself drowning in consumer debt, despite believing he could borrow his way to wealth, until a friend introduced him to a completely different approach that builds wealth without debt. Mike transformed his financial disaster into expertise as a certified financial coach, now teaching others the intentional planning strategies that took him from paycheck to paycheck, living to true financial freedom. His message is refreshingly simple, yet powerful. Be intentional, work a plan, and live debt-free, proving that anyone can break the cycle of financial stress and build long-term wealth. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Come on. Hey, great to be here.
Excited that you're here, man. And, before we get into what you do now,
Yes.
I'm curious as how this all actually started, Mike. So what was going on in your life when coaching became more than just an idea,
Oh, man. Burnt out. I remember literally couldn't get out of bed for weeks. Going back to those stuff, so those touring days led to that. But while I was on tour, I learned a lot about finances and stewardship. You got to think about it. We do a show, we play 1-2 hours a night, and then you got 22 hours for the rest of the day to, do whatever you're going to do. So we did a lot of learning during those years. And it was during those years we learned about the, principles of living debt free, how to build wealth, well without leverage, and started to apply that during those years here. So anyways, it was 2015, lying in the bed, couldn't get out, completely just like burnt out. And I had a moment where I just, one of those, almost like a God bomb or whatever, where just this idea pops in your head and your heart just resonates with it. And it was go down to Nashville to learn about this event on helping people get out of debt and all that stuff. So I did that. And that's where the business started. Now, it took many years to get the business rocking. Well, that's kind of the origin of where it started.
Interesting. So it's like Dave Ramsey picked up a guitar or lost a guitar in the middle of the
That's right.
And he's like, okay, I'm going to do this. Now,
Let's
this is
go.
super interesting.
Yeah, I got down there, got certified, came back. It was one thing to get certified and know what to do. It's a whole other thing to build a business on how to actually make a living, teaching people how to do what you're passionate about, or in my case, get out of debt and build wealth. And that's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's where that happened.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you can future tell as well, because that's my follow-up question. Because in the early days for coaches, right, most of them are trying to help people and all that, and just testing the waters and see how that looks like. Now, when did it start feeling like an actual business for you, that you were responsible for? Is it sometimes the first paying client, the first invoice? How did that play out for you?
Yeah, it's funny because I probably hustled hard for probably about 4 years of like making a little bit of money, but never enough to, support the family. It was, like I think most coaches have probably similar stories. But I do remember the first time I got paid. It felt so good. It was like, wow, that was like a milestone. And at that time in my brain, I said, man, if I could just have 8 paying clients a day, I'll replace my current job, my current income. This will be great. Now I look back and realize I don't want 8 paying clients. I don't want 8 hours of coaching every day. It's another way to burn yourself out fast. But anyways, that was the origin. Yeah. So that first check that came my way, and then shortly after that, a little bit more, and it became a good side hustle, good side income. And then it was around 2019 where it blew up and became a full-time gig, started to hire staff, bring on team members that's where it pivoted.
Nice. Once you were out there helping people, who did you naturally end up attracting? When did you realize, okay, these are the people I work best with?
I don't know if it's just my industry, but there was a lot of women. Funny enough, a lot of, women 40s, 50s, started just connecting in those circles and referring their friends and all that. And there's obviously some families as well. But with the debt thing, a lot of single parents became.
Let me ask you this.
The
Right.
crew.
Okay, now I got a little bit curious, because, you help people in the financial side. Did you have a lot of family asking, hey, can you help us out, Mike? That feeling? You're the money guy, right? You got that type of approach.
Yeah, there's always going to be a few. So I had some family ask a couple times for help, and I kind of came to a thing. It gets awkward trying to coach family. I found because you give them advice, they don't do it. You're like, what do we talk about? Let's find the next thing. And so really early on, I said, listen, I would love to help you. My business will more than help you. But one of my team members is going to work with you. That way, when we have Thanksgiving dinner, we can talk about everything else but your money.
Okay. Now, marketing wise, Mike, I want to understand one thing, right? If someone ends up working with you today,
yes.
Okay, how do they usually find their way to you in the first place?
Okay, so today, email list is pretty big. So that's usually the first spot, or, the socials, Instagram and YouTube and a little bit of Facebook. But the biggest driver of my marketing was I had one webinar that I put out there that resonated with a lot of people. And that's where the majority of people found me in the beginning. That's where they would have found me.
Okay. Now, let's pretend I'm one of those people, okay?
Yeah.
I looked at your socials, Instagram, whatever, your LinkedIn, whatever, and eventually I got into your email list or even your webinar, right, that you mentioned. And I'm through the sales process, whatever that looks like. There's alignment. I see it. I like it. I'm being converted as a client. Okay. Now walk me through two things. First of all, does it look like to work with your company? Okay, that's first. And what are the outcomes I should expect from it?
Yeah, great question. So we've shifted a little bit from the early days of just helping people get out of debt. We've helped a lot of people get out of debt. 8 figures of debt paid off. It's been amazing. The problem we ran into is after people got out of debt, they were like, what's next? And that's where we naturally started to shift over to investing. So let's just say you came in on the investing side, because that's where we spend a lot of our time now. We still have the debt stuff for people for sure, but a lot of them within a couple of years become debt free. And then we spend a lot of time, many years, on the wealth building side. So what that looks like for a lot of people is pretty simple. We've got a coaching program where people come in, the classic coaching program, they learn as a group, right? They learn the concepts in a group. They ask questions in a group. They implement in the group. But then we have one-on-one where we help them get over the mindset problem, the self-sabotage, the scarcity. And that's where the one-on-one comes in for a lot of our clients here. So we'll teach them in a group setting, the overall concepts, how to implement all of that stuff. But then we usually try and meet with them once a month or at least once a quarter, depending on where they're at, where we dial in the mindset and get them to actually take action on the stuff they know they need to take action on, but they're not. Which is what I think a good coach does. They have, most people I find don't lack the information. What they lack is a transformation. And I think a lot of that transformation only happens when you're able to have someone sit with you and challenge you and say, hey, by the way, that's really good, but you should be doing this now. This is where you should be growing to. Let's stretch you just a little bit more here. And I think that's where people get the huge results, is in the transformation.
I've been listening. I do like to listen to this type of show, financial and all that. And I've been following this guy, Caleb Hammer. And one thing that you mentioned really caught my attention. It's like, and he always says this too, it's like changing behavior, right? If you go bankrupt as a tool or something like that, you're going to go again if you don't change the way you're doing things, right? So is that something you guys are diving in? Is that did I got that right?
Yeah, that's you hit the nail on the head there. And I've experienced it not myself, but with my coaching clients, is where they've done multiple bankruptcies. They've done stupid on steroids again and again and again and again. And what we find is, to that statement, it's exactly exactly true. The habits and behaviors haven't changed. And so the input hasn't changed, and so the output stays the same, even with a reset. And so, yeah, again, that comes back to the transformation. Usually, this is a general broad statement, but generally you won't see a transformation in your life until those habits and behaviors adjust.
Okay, Mike, now I have a question, right? Because I'm picturing myself, I'm projecting in my head that I'm a potential client. So something came to mind, right?
Yeah.
You're a coach, and in this space specifically, financial, we have a lot of financial advisors and planners. So, what is the main difference you would say from coaching people into a financial, just a standpoint of a financial advisor or planner?
Yeah, great example of that right now. I'll give you literally a current example. The markets have dropped. Since October, the markets have been down, going sideways. And for the year, we're still down, although we might make new all-time highs coming up here shortly. And during good times in the stock market, everyone looks like great. Everyone feels amazing. Everyone looks like a genius. Like you can't do any wrong. What happens when the markets start to turn around or go sideways? And people get scared. They want to get out. And so what I've been doing, again, this is where that mindset stuff comes in here, is I've been coaching my community, my crew. This is where we buy. When everyone's scared, when everyone's selling, this is where we look to start buying and getting in. So that's probably a big difference between a financial advisor in most cases is, managing the money. That's their job, is to manage your money, but they very rarely do I find they manage you very well. And you call the shots. So Pedro, you initially, at the end of the day, you call the shots. And a good financial advisor, or a good coach, is going to help you on the mindset side of things, so that like we just had this huge pullback. It's time to start putting money to work, not pulling money out. So I think that would be a great case. That just literally happened in the last month. Today we're thankful we did put money in, because a lot of us are making a lot of money right now as the markets rebound and shoot back up, and people are now getting in. But that would probably be a huge difference.
Okay, now I have another question, because I'm getting to my own head, right? Thinking I'm your client. So I'm thinking now about the sales process as well. Like, let's play it like that. I understand that investment is more towards what you're working on right now, but there's always still the debt guys,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
People are in debt.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So how do you, I'm not saying convince, but how do you present to someone that spending money on X, Y, and Z, and let's say your program is a viable option, considering they're already broke?
And most people are, right? Most people are. What I found, so I used to work as a postman, believe it or not, deliver mail. And I used to deliver mail in some of the richest areas in the city and some of the brokest areas in the city, like just welfare. And one thing I noticed in the welfare communities is every house had a big screen TV and Jordans. The kids were all wearing Jordans. And he's like, how can these guys it doesn't make sense. You guys are on welfare. And what I concluded after years and years and years of seeing that pattern again and again and again is people will pay for what they want. And if what they truly want is transformation, we always find a way to make that happen. Right? So you might not have XYZ money in your account, but oftentimes we can find ways to go find that money. Sometimes it's, believe it or not, it's on a credit card. Right? And this is the last time we're ever going to use this credit card, because Mike Crofts is not only going to show you how to get debt free and get you there in the next 24 months or less, but he's also going to show you how to change your habits and behaviors so you don't pull out the credit card every single time life happens. So sometimes we do that. Sometimes, mom and dad have it hanging out for us, and we go to mom and dad and ask. Sometimes, it's the whole idea. If you truly want it, you'll go find a way to get it.
If there's a will, there's a way. I
There's
guess.
a will, there's a way, and everyone's way is a little bit different. But for the majority of people, we were always able to find the resources, because it's not about resources. I found it's about resourcefulness. And so some people, it was like, hey, we got to go hustle a side hustle for another month and a half to do this. Let's go do it. And then other people was just reallocating the resources that they didn't know they had.
Yeah. Now you remind me of Alex Hermosi. He has a training about, objections, and exactly what you mentioned.
Does he say that?
Resourceful. Yeah. The example is basically, it's resourceful. You nailed that. But the example is like, if I had a Ferrari to sell you for $5,000 right now, would you'd find a way.
We find a way to get that $5,000.
Exactly.
Or the analogy I use, if you had for those of us that have kids, if your kid had a terminal illness that was not curable, but if you could go find $5,000 to get the treatment, what would you would move heaven and hell to go find that 5K, right? So I think the idea comes down to, like, again, it's not about resources. It is about resourcefulness and how much do we truly believe in that transformation. I think oftentimes will be what sets us either moving in the direction to do it or, to
Yeah,
not.
that's true. I want to shift gears for a second. I feel like I would love to highlight your experience about it, right? Because there's a lot of money topic involved here. And one topic that I really like is like pricing, in the coaching space, but not necessarily hard numbers. Okay. It's more about the mindset behind it. And especially in the early days, since you're more established, right? Of course. Now, that's a thing that most coaches struggle with, right? It's like it's a lot of a self-worth path. Like, am I charging enough? Am I not charging enough? Am I placing myself out of the market? So how do you approach that now, pricing? And what did you have to learn the hard way to get where you are right now?
Yeah. So for me, and this isn't for everybody, for me, I charge based off the transformation I know they can get. And if I don't think they can get it, I usually don't make them an offer. Okay. So I don't enroll everybody. I don't make an offer to everybody. But if I truly feel you can be that person that gets transformation, that's what I base my price off of. Okay. Didn't always do that. I used to be super low ticket. If I could just get 10,000 people at $5 a month, there was a period in time where that was like I think it was like early 2000s, 2019, 2018, 2017, very much like a volume, just push through volume. And for me, it makes sense. And if that's someone's model, that's great. The problem I had is I was never able to deliver transformation in that model. I could give you all the information you wanted, which is great. And back then that might have been, a cool feature. But today we live in the information age. You can get any information you want on YouTube University, right? You go into your car, pop on YouTube. You can find anything on any topic. All the information is available for free. To me, information is valueless. It's what can you do with that information? And so I had a shift in about 2019-ish, 2020, where, okay, I was like, I got to stop trying to coach 1,000 people at once, or 10,000 or 20,000. I got to go find the 1 to 2 this month, 1 to 2 next month, 2 to 4 the month after, and really give that individualized approach. That's where the transformation's happening. And so that's where I had that shift for me. That's where that shift kind of pook. And I went from selling a $49 course, a $7 like cheat sheet, to I did start charging high ticket, but the transformation followed it pretty closely. And everyone I worked with, my goal was that within 3 months, they would 3X what they paid me. So whether that's 3X your debt payoff, 3X your investment side, whatever I'm charging you, I wanted you to 3X. That was my goal. Now, some people would 2X, some people would 1X, some people would 5X. It was different metrics, but I was like, whatever I charge you, you need to at least get that back in the next 30, 90 days, maybe 180 days. But then above and beyond that, you need to see that return. That's what I shifted to.
Interesting. Now, looking forward a bit, Mike, what's the direction you're aiming this business towards?
Yes.
Are you thinking more about growth, leverage,
Yes,
building an even bigger team, or refining what already works? What feels most exciting right now, Mike?
For me, the wealth building. A huge growth in that area right now. A lot of people are excited about it. We do it pretty well. Like, we do it really well. We're, better than most financial advisors. So people really like that. And we do it in a cool way. And one of the strategies I'm doing right now that a lot of people are really excited about is we've started helping people make a passive income, not being in the stock market, but through the stock market. So what's happened was, and maybe you've experienced this as well, but I love passive income, just being a money guy. I like to leverage ways to make more money, rental properties, side hustles, all that fun stuff. And what I found was in the last probably 10 years or so, the whole rental world, in my opinion, has fallen apart. And what I mean by that is the spread is not what it used to be. So you go get a rental party, put 100K down, whatever, 50K down, whatever, prices are going to be a bit different here. After your mortgages, after your property tax, after your insurance, and blah, 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 I find most people aren't even coming out ahead anymore. Most people are losing money on properties. If they are making money, it's a couple $100. And to me, the problem is to put 50K in a property to make a couple $100 a month. It doesn't seem worth it. And so I started teaching people how to make passive income in the stock market without investing. So that's the cool number one, is your money isn't tied up in any investments. But we started teaching them how to make a passive income, and that side of the business has blown up because everyone wants to make a passive income. But right now, a lot of the passive income that we used to do back in the day, or that's still being taught, at the end of the day, after, again, expenses and taxes and all that stuff, people aren't walking away with much. Where with this passive income we'll be doing in the stock market right now, we're making, there's no fees, or I should say there's a couple, very little fees. Taxes are taxed very little, and people are making, a good consistent income every single month on it. So that's one that we've been really shifting towards. And a lot of people have really been liking that one.
Okay, and I imagine your clients are usually based in the U.S. because I know you're in Alberta, Canada, right? I'm
U.S.,
just trying to
Canada, Europe. Got some in your European is kind of where the majority is. Yeah, but if you have access to the market, you can do this from anywhere in the world.
Yes, and usually Brazil, yeah. Well, and so usually you're tied up with the U.S. stock market. That's what we're talking about.
That's what we do it in the U.S. stock market. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, because that's where the most liquidity is. So whether you look at Japan, China, European, TSX, Canada, South America, the liquidity is in America. Excuse me. And so what you want is you want to be in a market that has a ton of liquidity. That's how we're able to move in and out really fast and make our passive income and not get stuck.
Okay. Again, so even when things are going well, Mike, there's always something under construction, right? So what's the main thing you're actively working on or trying to improve in the business, right?
Probably right now we're updating a lot of our webinar and sales process. Is what we've had a really good process that I learned in 2019 that's carried us for the last 6, almost 7 years. It's been really good. Market has shifted. I'm fine. Maybe you've heard this term, trust recession, right? And it's I've seen it. I can feel it, right? There's people who are just less trustworthy, a little bit more skeptical, and I get it because there's been a lot of bad actors out there. And so right now what we're working on is updating our mostly our webinar and just our process for really just helping people get to know us a little bit better, get more comfortable with us before they come on the call and we do the sales side of things.
Nice. Mike, and you've been around long enough to see trends come and go, okay? And people give business advice and investment advice. I would like to highlight that nonstop, especially online, right? So what's something you hear repeated a lot, especially in the financial side, okay, that you think people misunderstand or overvalue?
We're talking business, we're talking like specific finances, like on the money side.
You can drop me both because you're very unique. I would love to hear the financial side too.
Okay. So, yeah, you're right. There's been a lot of cycles. I think in business, we've cycled back to low ticket. A little bit here, that's definitely become more popular. And even I've sat there and like, maybe I should do it. And then again, there's nothing wrong with it. I think if you're looking for transformation, low ticket's going to be very hard to get transformation in, especially when people have been through the cycle a few times. So that's number one, is definitely low tickets become a thing. And I think information has shifted where 10 years ago, you did pay for information. Like you wanted up to date, you wanted the new thing. It was like pay for the information, where today you can find all that on YouTube, shorts, reels, all that stuff. You can find anything you want. So information, I think, is worth, I don't want to say it's worthless, but it kind of feels that way. You can find it anywhere. You're not paying for information anymore. I think if you're going to pay for something today, pay for transformation. And it doesn't mean if you have to pay a high price for it, but you got to find the right model for it. And I found, an information model, a feed me more stuff model does not usually get transformation in people's lives. So that'd be the first one on the business side, as we've gone low ticket again, but we have not gone transformation.
And how about financial advice?
I think it's the same, man. I think people get bored of what works. The slow and steady wins the race. And we're always trying to find a new way. So on the finance side, what I'm noticing is a lot of the day trading side of things is picking up again. And I found the stat the other day, and I've done some day trading. I've dabbled in it to see what it's like here, to see, what are the ins and outs. And it's been the hardest. I've been in finance. I've been investing since 2008. And day trading has been the hardest one I've ever done out of all the everything that's out there. And I found the stat the other day that said, if you day trade for 3 years, consistently, 97% of people lose their money. 7. It's 9 out of 10 people lose their money here. And so I'd say, when it comes to investing and building wealth, there's no magic goose, no magic egg that's going to get you there. See, long-term, over time, gets you winning.
Okay. And on the flip side, what's something boring or not as hyped that you wish more people actually paid attention to?
Excuse me there. Yeah, something that's not as hype, long-term, just buy and hold investing. Buy and hold great companies, buy and hold great ETFs that will give you that 30, 40% year over year growth. I know some people are listening right now like 30, 40% a year, crack, that's crazy. There's a great ETFs out there that since '08, '09 have averaged 40% year-over-year growth, 20% year-over-year growth. And if you'll stick with those, it will take you 10 to 15 years to become a millionaire.
I think it was Warren Buffett that said something like, I wish the get quick slow schemes were more popular, right?
Get rich slowly. Now, I'm okay if you can get rich faster, right? I'd rather get rich in 15 years than in 40 years. But yeah, to get rich in one day, like the whole, remember, I don't know if you're around for this, remember the crypto, when crypto was super hot? Like it was like the hottest thing. I mean, it's still around, but it's definitely not as hot as it was even 5-10 years ago. I watched so many people lose money, not because crypto was bad, like Bitcoin. I've done some Bitcoin stuff, but because they didn't know what they were in, how it worked, and they got taken and hoping they'd become rich really fast.
Yeah, I had a past in banking, right? I worked at a bank and consulting firm. So I never went into crypto. And the reason I didn't was like, I didn't feel it was reliable. And they got hacked along the years and lost trust and all of that. So
Yeah.
as much as we always sometimes don't like the fact there's a big corporate or government institution behind it, sometimes what gives credibility, right? Yeah, I mean, it could be debatable. I understand the other side too, but it's just something that didn't click, at least for me. I'm not sure about yourself, but that was my experience at least.
Yeah. And I'm not against Bitcoin at all. For me, I get it. I see how it works, but it's become more of like, as it's become more popular, as the governments have regulated it here, it's lost, in my opinion, it's lost its edge. And there's things out there that are a lot more safer, that grow a lot bigger, a lot better than Bitcoin is right now. And I would say put your money into that. And like I said, if you can average 20% year over year, you're going to double your money every 2.3 years, and you will become wealthy really fast. So yeah, take some time. Yeah, you won't be wealthy today. You won't be wealthy tomorrow, but 10 years, a decade from now, decade and a half from now, you could have a lot of money that otherwise you won't have because you're trying to do all the cool things of day trading and whatever the next trend's going to be. Right now, it's pumping. For the trend I'm seeing right now is pump and dump of micro stocks. I'm seeing a lot of people get pump and dump schemes in micro stocks. And I'm just like, stay the course, stay boring, Qs, triple Qs. We'll give you that 20, 30% year over year, maybe using some options if you decide you're comfortable with that. And you will become super wealthy.
Nice. And and before we close this out, Mike, if someone resonated with what you shared and wants to follow your work, where should they go?
Yeah. YouTube. Money Coach Mike, YouTube, just search out Money Coach Mike. You'll find me there. Instagram, Money Coach Mike, you'll find me there. You can always go to the website, moneycoachmike.com. You can find some stuff there as well. But yeah, you just search Money Coach Mike and the good and the bad will pop up, although there's way more good and very little bad.
Love it. There were a few moments from this chat, Mike, that really stood out to me. You started with being burned out, in the origin story. I feel that is so powerful. I always say this on the episode. It's like the best coaches I talk to are the ones that are being the most vulnerable, right? Because that's such a key asset for a coach, to meet a client in the middle, because you're going to ask hard questions, right? This is not going to be an easy conversation. So if you are as open as your client is, and you're willing to go the places that you're like, it's not that pretty, right? But it's reality that will make everyone's life easier at the end of the day. But that's just my opinion. Also, like when we were talking about the shift, right? Like you told me about it felt so good being paid.
That first patient, that first check.
Exactly. Because at the start, I'm a coach too, right? And at the start, sometimes you're like, hey, what do you do? And you're like, you kind of have this, but kind of not. And sometimes you're like shying away from saying you're a coach. Yeah, I got a job here and I kind of do this thing on the side, right?
Yeah.
But there's a moment that you're like, hey, no, I do this, right? And sometimes it's like the case you told me, the aha moment when you got paid. Yeah. And last but not least, the shift from 2020, you told me, right, about the price and how you based out of transformation instead of, a low ticket or whatever, because you noticed the most important part for your business was to transform people's lives, right? And with a low ticket, that doesn't seem to land that often, and
not as much.
I agree with that.
Not
as much. And I gotta be candid, I did a lot of mistakes too. Like I was like pricing by the hour too, turning myself into a commodity. people were comparing me to whatever job they were comparing me to, like a cleaning lady,
Yes.
the plumber and the hourly rate and all that. So this is my long-winded way of saying that I appreciate you taking the time, man, and being open with this, Great having you on.
Absolutely, man. Great to be here. And I went out there, like I would say, like if you're just getting started, step into that. Own it. If you want to be a coach and that's your thing, own it. Don't wait for it to happen. Go own it today and go out there and be that coach. And over time, your compensation will match how the transformation you're giving people in their lives.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.